One of the reasons we play D&D is because we like to explore characters and their stories. We like to project our fantasies into them. They are the medium we use to transport ourselves to the imaginary worlds that we love. And naturally, we want to create awesome characters. But it's difficult to come up with a person from scratch and all of their complexities. So in this video, we'll help you create a character that will break the mold of the ordinary so you and your friends can enjoy a better game. And we'll do it in 3 easy steps. Hi, my name is Raxo and welcome to Neuron Games, where we connect our brain to the game. Part 1. The why. Making a character feels like ordering coffee nowadays. What do you want? To play D&D? Sure, no worries. Just letting you know, you will be judged. Judged? Yep. You don't want to be a basic fighter champion with a noble background, or a pretentious rogue that lost his family bullshit. Can you help? Sure, you just need to select a race, class, subclass, personality, background, equipment, weapons, tools, proficiencies, ability scores, spells, religion, and alignment. A backstory also that's compelling, engaging, clear, dramatic, important, difficult, insightful, tragic, empathetic, rough, and also realistic. Oh, and of course, the name. I don't know. Give me your favorite. Sure, how about a bard with a trait oblivious to social cues, with chaotic neutral alignment, and his magic comes from his voice, so he's like a poet, and it's like the spokesperson of some religion that he blindly followed. That's fine. Great! Now I just need a name. Enjoy. So this is my name now, huh? Well, let's leave all that stress behind and enjoy this new character. Yep, it sucks. I want to start by saying that there's nothing wrong with playing rogue characters, the wise cleric, the righteous inflexible paladin, etc. For me, it's still fun to play those characters from time to time. However, they have a bit of a drop down as you continue to play them. They're great for playing casually, but they have a curve like this. As you can see, these simple characters are interesting at the beginning precisely because you already know them, you already know the personality. And exactly because of this, they seem like they're hollow. And the more you explore them, the less rewarding they get because they are one-dimensional. They go in one direction and you already know what that direction is going to bring. This, in my experience, leads to player burnout, probably one of the most dangerous afflictions that plague D&D. If the players are bored of playing their characters, their campaign will whiff out eventually. So let's try to prevent that by making some modifications to this graph so that we can make better characters that are more interesting to play. What we want to do is have this graph instead, where the characters start out somewhat simple, but evolve with time. This is the ideal graphic, and the one we will try to reach during this video when making our character. Notice also that this graph is very similar to the ones used by writers to map out a great story, with an introduction, a ramp that increases tension, a climax, and immediately after the ending. So that means we're on the right track. Let's start by stealing them. Step 1. Start randomly. Constraints will help. Creating a character in D&D is very easy. You only need to know about the classes, subclasses, races, feats, spells, backgrounds, extra mechanics, proficiencies, alignment, equipment, values, flaws, status condition, challenge rating, armor class, temporary hit points, spell slot, multi-class, magic items, and contacts. Analysis paralysis. At first, you might feel powerful. You can do whatever you want with your character and have endless possibilities. And yet, you end up making a fighter, at least as per the statistics in D&D Beyond. This is a clear symptom that endless possibilities are not really helping people in creating better characters. So how do we fix this? Well, this usually happens because you have so many options that you can't choose an optimal one. And let's face it, we're players. If we're incapable or just lazy of finding the best possible combination out there, we'll look it up online or copy it from someone else. I mean, just look at all the Reddit posts about this, and then voila, you have regression to the mean, where everyone plays the same thing, and then we complain the campaign is boring. The solution? Introduce some spice into your character creation by using randomness and constraints. Instead of planning meticulously how your character will look like, what class and subclass you will have, which magic items and feat you will select, and having an extremely detailed map all the way from level 1 to level 20, before even starting the campaign, try the exact opposite. Don't plan it too much. Choose a class, and that's it. Let your character evolve with the story and the campaign. Hell, select a random class and background, pair it with some random personal characteristics from the PHP, and there you go. Randomness. You'll love it. Guaranteed or your money back. Furthermore, when you're advancing the story, try to lock yourself from falling into the things that make characters easy to play. Are you a paladin? Do you like Smite? Of course I like Smite. What kind of question is that? I know, it was a rhetorical question. My point is that instead of your personal quest being getting a sword that will level up your Smite power, try going for something else. When you get a magic item, make it random. This will make the character more interesting because it will allow your character to explore possible avenues and to evolve as the campaign advances. It will force you to think outside the box. And as a side note, you would not believe what a paladin is capable of doing with an immovable grot. I've seen that combination break multiple campaigns with the same run. As a final tip, let me introduce you to a powerful tool that will help you on your endeavor. The same tool God himself uses to create the very fabric of reality. Randomness. But God doesn't play dice. Excuse me, are you God? That's it. Use them to make your character. It's even in the player's handbook. Look, all the random tables. So, roll a random class, select a random background, and you're all set. On the next steps, we'll put our theory to work and create together a fully fledged character. If you like it, you'll be able to download a PDF that we've specially prepared for you as a little gift. Step 2. Connect the dots. Let's say that you've made a new character. You follow the instructions above and ended up with a random class and a random background, but with a bunch of weird traits, and they don't match at all. But don't worry, that's a great start. This is an unexplored character. It doesn't have obvious characteristics, and that's in fact how real people are. They have contradictions and unexpected traits. This will give you the final push to make your characters feel more real. Now, it's all about connecting the dots. I'll present to you a couple of axioms that you can use to make sense of it all. Contradictions are a feature, not a bug. A ranger allergic to plants, a paladin afraid of the dark. These kind of things might look like a terrible brew for a character, but they're not. These contradictions are fuel for the story. They will allow your character to flourish and even overcome these traits later in the campaign as the story progresses. This will give your character an intrinsic motivation and a potential for growth. Here, let me give you an example. In Lord of the Rings, there's an elf and a dwarf. Needless to say, they're not exactly friends, you know.
And I suppose you think you're the one to do it!
What happens when Sauron takes back what is his?
I will be dead before I see the ring in the hands of an elf!
Embedded in their character traits is a disdain for each other. But they have to cooperate to defeat the big, bad, evil guy. Cooperating when disliking each other is a contradiction. How are you supposed to do that, you might ask? Well, it's not easy, but with time, slowly they overcome that contradiction and grow as characters, even to the point of becoming great friends.
I thought I'd die fighting side by side with an elf.
What about side by side with a friend?
I could do that.
The same thing can happen with almost any pair of contradictory traits. Remember, humans, or any kind of people for that matter, are naturally contradictory creatures. Use that to your advantage. The more unlikely, the better. Let's set Star Wars, for example.
I am your father.
That's impossible!
Luke being Darth Vader's son is a very unlikely event, especially because we've been told that his father was killed by Darth Vader. That's exactly why this reveal is so powerful. As you create your characters, keep an eye out for those moments and those traits, and I'll guarantee you that they will be very good roleplay material. Now, these axioms are an exercise in creative freedom. You may not be able to write a character like Luke Skywalker or Legolas on your first try, but the more you are at it, the more you play, the better you'll get. This will also mean that you will see yourself grow as a player and as a character as you play the campaign. You both will become more interesting as time goes on, exactly as we intended with this graph. Remember? Step 3, raising the stakes. As the last step, we'll use a lock to prevent our characters from falling into the boring side of the story. This lock can be summarized by the phrase, choices should have consequences. As you play and let your character evolve, sometimes you will make mistakes or make suboptimal decisions. Resist the urge to retcon them. Don't fix them. Let them roll. Incorporate them into your character. We all make mistakes, but they are the thing that allows us to grow as people. They add complexity and depth to a character. For example, in The Lion King, Mufasa makes the mistake of overlooking just how evil his brother is. I mean, look at him. He's obviously evil. How could he make that mistake? Well, he made it because he has contradictory character traits. First, his love for his brother, and secondly, his sense of duty. Ultimately, because of this mistake, we got a great story. If something like this happens in your game, let it happen. Resist the urge to change it. Roll with the mistake. In a sense, you cannot fix something that isn't broken. You can make an omelette without breaking some eggs, or in this case, being killed by your brother. So there we have it. 3 easy steps to follow to make interesting, great characters. Creating the character. Now, if this is still somewhat nebulous or abstract, stay just a little longer. We'll make a character using all of these principles so you can see firsthand how easy it is. Alright, so we have our player's handbook and our dice. Let's roll a character. I'll make a random class and background as advised in step 1. Let the dice speak. So it seems we got a rogue that is a hermit. Not too difficult to start with, I'd say. We call him Ladria the Rogue. Alright, so now we need to discover why is he a hermit. Let's roll again. He's apparently the caretaker of a ruin. Interesting. It seems we have reached a little bit of a contradiction, right? A rogue that protects the ruin, they're usually the opposite. Like this guy, you know? So, how can we make this work? Well, instead of rolling again, let's remember our second axiom. Contradictions are a feature, not a bug. Then, I would like to add something of my own, a phrase by none other than Marcus Aurelius. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Let's make Ledgy our caretaker, yes, but that was not a decision he took willingly. Instead, let's say he was traveling with another party long ago, and as any adventuring party, they were raiding the ruin, not protecting it. The impediment to action advances action. But, like every ruin in fantasy, this one had traps. What stands in the way becomes the way. A party member activated the traps and sealed them deep underground, with no way out. All of his friends were killed, and he was forced to roam the place, surviving on his own, hunting rats and whatnot. He was there for years. Now we have a hermit, but one with an interesting twist. That's great, but you might want to know what kind of ruin your character got stuck into, and many more details. But let's take it slow, one step at a time. We'll leave these details hanging here, and we'll use principle number 2, connect the dots, later to give him a cool background. Now let's roll his personality trait. E5, oblivious to social etiquette and norms. Well, here's an easy one. We already have a justification for this trait that will define all his social interactions. After years of living alone, secluded in a collapsed ruin, with no human interaction, Ladji sort of got used to that hard life. And if he survived with no social norms for years, why does he need them now? Ladji will end up making mistakes due to this trait. But now we have a broken Ladji and can work throughout the entire campaign to fix him organically. We continue and roll for his ideal. We got a 6, which means he's all about self-knowledge. Now that's a great one because it can further help us define him. We'll continue using our second principle, connecting the dots. In this case, the dots are the ruins and his ideal. Let's say this ideal comes from wandering the ruins for years. Little by little, he began to notice writings on the walls, symbols of knowledge. With nothing better to do, he set out to translate and understand the ruins' hidden meaning. He became obsessed and began to understand them finally. They spoke of a process of purification through self-knowledge. And voila, we have our ideals perfectly justified. Our masterpiece is almost done, just 2 more traits to go. Now we roll for his bond. And with a 6, we get isolation gave him insight of a great evil only he can destroy. Remember the details that we left over here? The ones that would flesh out the ruin even more? Well, we'll use them now. We have the perfect backstory for our ruin with this. Originally, it was a temple meant to teach and prepare people to fight a great, dormant evil. But with time, it came into disrepair, its teachings forgotten. Now, the only one who understands them is our rogue, Lagi. And finally, we roll his flaw. With a 2, we get bloodthirsty thoughts. This was a little bit more difficult. We've established the ruins to be a place of self-reflection that teach about knowledge and how to defeat a great evil. So it seems unlikely that Lagi has these sort of thoughts, right? Well, fortunately, we have our second axiom. The more unlikely, the better. This means we can do something great. In order to properly insert the flaws in our character, I'll flesh Lagi's relation to his old party when they became trapped. Lagi never recovered from the trauma that left him stranded alone in an unknown ruin for years. And since the party was responsible for his tragedy, he blames them for the hardships he had to endure. Therefore, due to all that built-up resentment, whenever someone displays an action that reminds Lagi of his former companions, he has these intrusive, bloodthirsty thoughts that he can barely control and that might even push him towards the edge and send him into a bloodthirsty rage. Now we have a great body for our character. Let's give him a soul. Let's raise the stakes.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! In the name of God! Now I know what it feels like to be God!
Let's use our luck and ensure our actions will have tangible consequences in the future. But how do we do that? Well, remember almost at the start of the video when I said that you should not prepare the character all the way to a high level in order to leave some room for organic growth? Well, let's do that. Let's give Lagi some dramatic, high-stakes options while keeping everything vague enough so we can fill it up later as the campaign progresses. How? By tying up the character development with his class. Let me explain. Because Lagi has a deep internal conflict, that is, he might succumb to his bloodthirsty thoughts and abandon his quest of self-knowledge. Or he will use this knowledge to overcome these intrusive thoughts. We'll tie each outcome to a different character progression path. If Lagi, during the campaign, behaves in a way that allows his intrusive thoughts to win, we'll make him a rogue assassin, capable of bringing utter devastation with his attacks. This reflects his character as he develops it, impulsive and very dangerous. If, on the other hand, Lagi takes the path of self-discovery and knowledge and manages to overcome his resentment, he instead will become a cleric in service to the god of the ruined temple he knows so well. Also, depending on how much he commits, he might even multiclass as a rogue hermit cleric, or we might entirely change his class and make him a devoted cleric. I know this might sound crazy for some. I personally have never seen a rogue cleric, although Critical Role's Jester comes close, or any cleric trickster domain. But regardless, I encourage you to try it. It will make you see your character in a full new light. It will make it seem more alive and with an unknown potential for growth that only you can explore as you play. Tying up loose ends. As for some of the details regarding the classes, like what domain might he take or what god does he serve, I'll let you fill out those details yourself with your DM, so you can really tie this, or really any other character, fully to the adventure that you're gonna play. Furthermore, regarding the large decision you will take as Lagi levels up, you can track it using a very simple segmented bar, like this one. With each decision you or Lagi takes, you can move your character to one side or the other. If during a battle, Lagi gives in to his intrusive thoughts and enters a bloody rage, then you move him one space to the right. If he instead chooses to commune with the ruins' lost god in order to gain more self-knowledge, you move him one space to the left. Then, when the time comes to pick a subclass, depending on where Ladji stands, he will become one or the other. Finally, feel free to ask your DM for little rewards when and if Ladji becomes one or the other. I, for example, would give an assassin Ladji a special ability. Every time he dispatches an opponent because of his bloodlust, he gains the ability to immediately move half his movement and make an additional melee attack for free. Discuss this with your DMs, of course, but I'm sure given how cool and complex this character is and how much dramatic potential it has for the DM's story, they'll be happy to reward you. If you're still a little bit iffy about this whole process, I have great news for you. Down in the comments below, you'll find Ledge's character sheet. It's completely custom-made and ready to use in any adventure. Consider this a little gift for staying all the way till the end of the video. Thank you, and remember to like and subscribe to see more content like this. Raxo out.